Okay, hi, hello everyone. Very good evening. A warm welcome to the introductory session of the Pragati AI for Impact Hackathon 2025, an initiative by the Nudge Institute in collaboration with Meta, powered by Actor Skill. My name is Shakti Singh from Actor Skills team, and I'll be your host today. It's great to see such an enthusiasm in the comments. So I can see a few comments from my side. So many impact makers eager to see. I can see a lot of people already engaging with us on this YouTube. You're watching us right here. Some of you have already registered for it. Some of you are new to it. So and don't worry, you'll get to meet the mentors and the speakers and the expert panel very soon from now onwards. So let's get started with the session. We'll not take much of your time. So I'll have my PPT on screen. Okay, it's right there. A special welcome to those who have already registered for the hackathon and to those who have joined today to learn more before making a decision. This session will help you understand why Pragati AI for Impact is the opportunity to create AI-driven solutions for social good. So, what are we going to do here on this session today, and what are we going to cover is everything that you need to know. So we can just see on my screen as I move towards, the agenda of part of it. So what we're going to do here is about the hackathon. We'll take a deep dive into its vision and beyond. We'll discuss more about why open source AI, an introduction to the problem statements, detailed walkthrough of the problem statements. We'll also discuss about the hackathon flow, application process, timelines, and everything about this whole hackathon itself. It's very exciting for me. I hope you're equally excited about this hackathon, and it's just so exciting to have a lot of industry veterans from on the panel today itself. I'd like to introduce you to our speakers and the panel itself. So we'll be joined by Ms. Divya. So Ms. Divya is strategic. Just give me a minute. I think there's a lag. Okay, I'm sorry. So we'll be joined by Ms. Divya. Ms. Divya is strategic program and partnerships at Meta. We'll also be joined by Gerald. Gerald is managing director at the Nudge Forum. We'll also be joined by Gayatri. So she works as a senior director of social entrepreneurship at the Nudge Institute. Also joined by Mr. Bharat, associate director, the Nudge Forum, and also Ayushi. She is consultant at the Nudge Forum. So I would like to welcome and introduce each one of them, one after the other, right? We'll be joined by all of them together to discuss different topics of the agendas itself. So I'd like to hand it over to Gayatri first here. So Gayatri, if you can just join us on screen, can we have Gayatri? Hi Gayatri, thank you so much for joining us here.
Hello, you can hear me?
We can hear you, yeah.
So Pragati, as you all know, means development, right? So, and India is seeing development in different pockets. So we are seeing development in the entrepreneurial spirit of the youngsters. We're seeing huge talent. So India is the biggest talent pool, as you all know. So we are doing huge strides in development. But while we are doing huge strides, we are also seeing that a larger pockets of population are getting left out of this development. Because, say, for example, for you to imagine a historically marginalized community, Didi from Jharkhand, a poor slum dweller in your neighborhood, your own Bai, or the trans community people, the migrant community, there are a lot of people who are getting left behind, right? And we are today in a super fast-paced environment where developments are not growing by the day; it's growing by the minute, and it's very difficult for this pocket, which has not had the advantages of the rest of India, to kind of keep pace with this kind of development. And we all know that the strength of the chain is only as strong as its weakest link. Right? So the true development of India is only possible if we were to arrive at equitable growth, where we see growth across the spectrum of people. And to have this equitable growth, we have to be very intentional about it, right? We have to think through it. We have to really take steps towards it. Otherwise, we will create this polarization, which is not good for the development in a longer run. And in a diverse country like India, equitable growth also requires a multitude of social innovations, right? Because pockets that are getting left out are really different. So we need very smart, tech savvy, solution centric social entrepreneurs who are solving different issues at this kind of scale. For example, I'll talk about an organization called Rocket Learning. So what they found out is that the parental involvement, right, like parental involvement in early childhood education, is super crucial for the child to have continued development in education, or be even interested in education. Because as we all know, when you feel that you have achieved something, when you feel that you have learned something, and you feel a little bit of a dopamine high, that a reward system is triggered in your brain, then the child is also trying to put in more effort, right, rather than feeling very perplexed in an environment where it is a lot of learning and a lot of cognitive overload. So what they came up with is a very interesting idea. So they realized that the parents, right, like the parental involvement is required, but these parents are not able to do, because they also don't know much. So they come from lesser educated background, and they don't have the resources, and they don't know, although they have the great intention to educate the child, they don't have any resources. So they started with the WhatsApp based learning modules. So a parental community, so small WhatsApp based modules will be given to the parent, so the parent can sit along with the child. Then the child learns, say, probably counting, the child learns certain numerical abilities, some addition. So it's kind of a fun time engagement between the parent and the child. So they also have gamified this activity in order to have more and more parents also setting a goal for themselves and for the child, and making learning and easy, and seeing to that not many children are left behind in an education. Today, they are also leveraging the power of AI to kind of create customized learning goals, because not every child starts at the same level. Say this is child that starts that I don't know how colors, for example, and then goes into saying, okay, now I know it, right? Like you go to the next level. So a child doesn't know numbers, then you go to the addition. So they've started doing these different levels. So there is a lot of power in which technology could be easily integrated, just intentionally, so that we'll be able to create this kind of widespread impact at scale. Another example is an organization called Farmers for Forest. So what they did is that they were working with the smallholders farmers. So there is a government benefit that comes, where there is a promotion that when the smallholder farmers are involved in agroforestry, there are schemes that the government can they can utilize from the government. So this organization has now enrolled a lot of smallholder farmers. So they have encourage these farmers to kind of create agroforestry models, wherein the farmer not only gets income from his crop, but also from the fruits of the trees that is around. But the interesting part is agroforestry also is an important measure for the government and for climate change, right? So one solution actually has multiple components. But then now they also come up with having drones to start measuring, saying, okay, if this farmer has grown trees and the trees are grown, you can kind of measure the canopy, and using that they can actually see how much of carbon is getting sequestered, and using that they can create additional income to the farmers. So what we are seeing is that when the youth, right, like when the youth and the young and the tech savvy people in India come together and be intentional about creating any kind of impact, be it that no child is left behind, so no adult is left behind in learning. I mean, if and every child should learn and every adult should earn, and how do you kind of enable that? If you become intentional about it, it becomes very, very important for the growth of equitable growth, what we want to see in India. And this is where and this is why we actually launched the Pragati AI for Impact. What we would like to see is how AI and the advancements of deep technologies and machine learning technologies can benefit the marginalized and the poor. It is one step, right, towards this, and we would like to have a lot of young minds coming and using their thinking power to enable this for a larger population. And that is why the Pragati AI for Impact is here for you today. And I would hand over to Divya to just walk you through the next. Divya?
Hey, thanks, Gayatri. Good evening, everyone. I'm really excited to be here. My name is Divya Khimani, and I drive strategic programs and strategic partnerships with Meta. We're very excited to partner with the Nudge Foundation on Pragati AI for Impact. And today I wanted to talk to you about Meta's commitment to open source AI and why it's not just a tech decision, but really a philosophy that drives our vision for a more inclusive and innovative world. So let me take a moment to talk about a letter that Mark Zuckerberg wrote in July of 2024. This was a letter on how open source AI is the path forward. And I'm going to quote a few lines from that letter. Open source will ensure that more people around the world have access to the benefits and opportunities of AI, preventing power from being concentrated in a few hands and allowing the technology to be deployed more evenly and safely across the society. This is at the heart of everything that we do with open source AI. Open source AI benefits everyone: developers, startups, enterprises, and researchers. They get access to powerful tools that drive both innovation and competition. It kind of levels the playing field, fosters transparency, unlocking a future where everyone can benefit from the advancements in AI. Last year, we took our open source approach further with Llama 2, and we introduced Llama 3 under a very permissive community license. What does this mean? Well, it essentially means developers, researchers now have access to top notch pre trained and fine tuned chat and coding models without the hefty pre training costs. While we're working and enhancing our models, we also launched a software stack that codifies the best practices to leverage Llama models called Llama Stack. Now, what this does is it empowers developers to build AI applications with confidence in an environment of their choice, be it on-prem, in the cloud, or on the edge. Our goal really is to make it as easy for anyone to build and deploy AI applications that can drive positive impact. We believe open source AI will drive innovation, create better and safer products, and disrupt industry concentration by making AI a shared advantage for all and not a privilege for few. Now, the beauty of open source models is that people organically are building innovative solutions on top of them. India is also among the top 3-4 markets globally for Llama usage, and we're very excited, to see the ways in which organizations are solving for India's unique needs leveraging Llama. Sarvam, a name that most of you may already be, say, familiar with, they've used Llama to develop enterprise voice AI agents with improved reasoning capabilities that are proficient in 10 Indian languages. The company has leveraged Llama to develop Shuka, India's first open source audio language model. Llama serves as the decoder in Shuka, processing audio tokens generated by Sarvam's audio encoder. We've also seen Kisan AI build agriculture solutions leveraging Llama for farmers in India. Vadvani AI and Arivihan have built solutions in the education sector. In India, we have such a vibrant tech and startup ecosystem, and our open source models are already being used to build innovative solutions that are tailor-made for Bharat. Now, by leveraging AI for social good, we truly believe we can bridge gaps in resources and opportunities and create a more equitable world. With Meta's open source AI tools and models, nonprofits, students, and startups can use and customize state of the art AI without prohibitive costs. Moreover, we believe open source will also encourage collaboration across the global community of developers and researchers, right? Because that is essential for not just driving innovation, but also for solving the kind of complex social problems we're talking about here. With that, I'd just like to say thank you for joining us today. I'm really looking forward to seeing AI innovation pave the way for social impact at this hackathon. And I'm very sure with your collaboration, we'll be able to push the boundaries for what's possible. I really can't wait to see what this hackathon brings to the table. With that, I'm going to sign off and hand it over to Gerald.
Hi, thanks, Divya. Am I audible? Am I clear? Great.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. So thanks, Divya. My name is Gerald Pereira. I run the Nudge Forum. Just briefly, the Nudge is an institute that's focused on livelihoods. And livelihoods, obviously, is a very, very important and critical narrative and relevant to India becoming Vikshit, right? There's a lot of talk about India becoming developed by 2047, Viksit Bharat. And, what bodes well are people like you listening in, who in many ways can shape and accelerate and probably, get India on its development journey even faster. Right now, just picking up where where Gayatri and Divya sort of left off, is coming more specifically to problem areas that the hackathon that we're looking to sort of disrupt, to solve for through this AI for Impact hack, right? So I thought, just a little context. I mean, India has a plethora of problems. There are many problems that one has to solve, right? But given the fact that we are looking at it predominantly from a, let's say, a livelihood intersecting perspective, and what are the big plays in livelihood and solutions, therefore, in these livelihood areas that can transform and and sort of bring population scale change, is where the focus is, and hence we sort of narrowed down into 4 thematic areas. The first being agriculture. As you know, agriculture is and probably will continue to remain the largest employer in the country. Second is skilling, right? And we keep hearing about the Skill India mission and skilling youth, and there's so many different schemes and other initiatives, both private and public, that keep happening. And so skill and India's sort of demographic dividend, which is our young population being amply skilled and adequately and personal and relevantly skilled, is critical to India's success. Step before skilling is education, right? I mean, education today, a quality education, it's built into the constitution, right? The right to education. But I mean, but beyond just beyond it being there in letter, how do we ensure, and how do we, as Gayatri said, how do we be intentional about it and make quality education accessible to everybody at an affordable manner, right? And therefore, education is another sort of pillar on which we want to run this hack. And the last is health. I mean, if health isn't at its prime, and if there are other challenges in health, then be it education, be it skill, or be it agriculture, other forms of livelihood will obviously be impacted. And so health and healthcare was the fourth sort of pedestal on which we wanted to drive this hack, right? Now, moving on to the next slide about some guidelines, right? I mean, you're all extremely talented, all extremely, sort of well equipped to solve. But this is just a step back to try and, make you think from the perspective of who the end beneficiary should be, right? I mean, and just interestingly, last week I was chatting to somebody, and he was telling me, or telling us, a couple of us were on the call, and he said that I think it was Denmark or one of these countries, Finland, that bandwidth is now a sort of a fundamental right of a person, right? Now, how do we make how do we get, let's say, AI and technology also to the bottommost level of the pyramid, make it accessible, make it affordable, so that they can use it for their upliftment, right? And that journey of upward mobility continues, right? And so therefore, putting that into perspective, I wanted to just call these specific areas out. When you're designing solutions, think of it from who the target customer is, right? The target customer or the target beneficiary in each of these segments is the underserved, the marginalized, the most vulnerable, right? And so therefore, the solutions that are being built should be adoptable, adaptable, affordable, to this segment, right? Yeah, typically, and just going back a bit, typically any new technology has been the privy of the people who can afford it, the big companies, the organizations, etc. The change started to happen when India built its India stack, the Aadhaar, the DPIs, etc., which started to democratize access, payment gateways, etc. Right, and it's in that very spirit and in that very vein that we want to continue with AI for Impact, and see how AI can sort of augment and accelerate journeys for many people, right? So technical realities is very important. Connectivity in rural areas may be unreliable. Devices are basic devices. I would say that feature phones still do exist in large numbers, but it's safe to assume now that almost every household, if not an individual, would have a basic smartphone, right? There are power, issues, power challenges. In one of my earlier experiences, a lot of power would come in for only a certain period of time, and so the learning that had to happen in the education upskilling space had to happen only during those limited hours. So you need to keep all these considerations from a user context, right? I mean, digital literacy, they're not going to be as familiar with digital tools and aids as you all are. Language, India has, if I remember correctly, 22 national languages and 19,500 or thereabout dialects, right? There's also this, as I say, glass door syndrome, right? I mean, this is something new and shiny and bright, and so there's always this trust deficit as you start to look at it towards these new technologies, and what is how can they sort of adapt to it. Fortunately, I mean, the younger generation seems to be taking, at all levels of society, taking to tech very, very easily. Resource limitations, right? Economic, so a low ability to pay, data, as I said above, connectivity. In some ways, it's a similar sort of problem statement. Patchy data connections, and also, sorry, in this case, there's limited data, right? So if we have to build solutions for an Indian user, we need data models that are representative of that segment, right? So that's also a challenge, rather. Expertise, right? I mean, again, for deployment. So, for example, if they have to sort of start leveraging AI solutions, it has to be a very easy and sort of low touch way. There isn't capacity for people to go door to door and sort of bring people up to speed, right? And lastly, of course, ethical considerations, right? I mean, we are still very, very early in our AI journey, and so data privacy, especially for areas like health, transparency, bias mitigation, to ensure that the models that are all being that we're using are typically Western models, based on largely, I guess, evolved data sets. So how do you mitigate those biases? And then, of course, sustainability from a long-term perspective, right? I mean, these things have to sustain and build and grow for this to be a success. So with that, I will hand over to my colleague Bharat, who will go into these 4 pillars of areas of focus areas in a little more details. Thank you, and excited to be here, and anxiously looking forward to what you guys have to build out.
Awesome. Thank you, Gerald. Hi, everyone. Now that Gerald has provided us with some background on the aspects to be kept in mind, or the design principles while designing the solutions, let's go over the problem statements for Pragati AI for Impact Hackathon. So I'm Bharat Sikwera, been with the Nudge since last 5 years, and I'm currently part of the Nudge forum. So very excited to be seeing what solutions come out of this hackathon as well. Before we dive into the problem statements themselves, here is how they are structured for the participants' benefits. We will have a problem statement across different domains presented on different slides. And each slide with the problem statement will include the current challenges in the sector, which are categorized into various subsectors or sub areas within the larger domain. For example, agriculture as a main domain will have subdomains, and under each subdomain there will be problem statements. And the second part is for the better understanding, we also have a section called what success would look like when the problem is solved, or solutions are designed for these challenges. So a keynote over here is participants can choose one or multiple problems within a sector and develop open source AI-based solutions for these. We request you to pick on one and only one domain for solving, primarily because if you pick multiple domains, it becomes a little complicated at the solution phase. So you pick either agri, or you pick either education or skilling or healthcare, and you could pick one or more problem statements under each of these domains. So now let's get into different domains or areas. So the first one is agriculture. So the key objective for designing solutions for challenges in the agri sector is how might we leverage open source AI to empower India's 120 million plus smallholder farmers to overcome systemic barriers in agriculture productivity, market access, and financial inclusion. So the key aspect to note here is that we are designing solutions for the smallholder farmers, and the key design principles which Gerald talked about apply here massively. So these smallholder farmers who typically have land holding less than 2 hectares. So while we go through these problems, you imagine that you look at the lens at the smallholder farmer who owns less than 2 hectares of land and is facing climatic challenges, high cost of inputs, and also probably low, price for their agricultural inputs, and kind of struggling to make ends meet. So when we look at the problems, please look at that lens as well. So the first subdomain we are looking at here is financial barriers for the smallholder farmers. Within this, the primary challenge that they face is lack of access to formal credit and capital. So this is mainly because they have limited or no collaterals and have poor credit history, and also because of tedious documentation requirements. This affects their loan eligibility and also repayment capacity, which is like a vicious cycle. This means that they are not able to buy quality inputs like high quality seeds, high quality fertilizers at the right time. And as we all know, time is of essence in agriculture because it's season based. Financial barriers also include limited access to crop insurance, either because of lack of awareness or because they cannot afford it, or because they may not be eligible for it. All this means that they are highly dependent on informal local lenders who charge really high interest rate, and the farmers might end up losing whatever meager profits they might earn from their incomes. Sorry, if they produce. So, what would success mean when we address these problems? It means that the farmers will have increased access to formal credit with simplified documentation requirements. It could mean expanded awareness and adoption of accessible and affordable crop insurance by farmers. The solution could promote informed investment and saving decisions to accessible financial education and digital tools. And mainly, the solution could enable the farmers to limit dependency on informal and high interest loans. Now, coming to the second subdomain, that is market access. The key challenge here is that the farmers do not get the right or fair price for their produce because of multiple intermediaries or multiple steps in the system that reduce farmer income. Since the farmers may not have time and resources to take their produce to the market to be sold directly, they tend to sell it to intermediaries and undergo multiple steps which by which they do not get the right price. This dependency leads to limited price discovery and also limited bargaining power for the smallholder farmers. The farmers also face plenty of post-harvest losses due to storage and logistical gaps. Since they do not have adequate land and resources, it is difficult for them to build storage spaces. Also, there is a lot of produce that gets wasted during the transportation to markets. The farmers face difficulty in accessing quality inputs at a reasonable price, either due to lack of availability of resources, or because they cannot afford it, or simply because they may not be aware where to find the quality inputs in the market. So, what would success mean when we address the market access problems? It could involve bypassing the intermediaries and connecting directly to the institutional buyers or the consumers through various platforms. The solutions could provide real-time market information access to the smallholder farmer, enabling them to take informed decisions to sell their produce or buy quality inputs. The solutions could support a decrease in crop wastage through innovative storage ideas or efficient logistics. And a solution could also help the farmers to access authenticated seeds, fertilizers, and pesticides at competitive prices. Now, moving to the third domain, that is production and knowledge gaps. The farmers lack timely localized climate and pest advisories. We have to remember, as I mentioned earlier, that agriculture is heavily dependent on seasons and climatic conditions, and this varies from region to region in India. Hence, any advisory that provide information to the farmers have to be contextualized and localized to the specific geography where the farmers belong. Many farmers still practice traditional farming practices, and that results in more input costs and water loss. And fragmented land holdings, which average 1.08 hectares, limit the scale benefits for the farmers, since they have to pay more for the inputs and resources. The farmers also have limited access and awareness of modern farming techniques and technology. Solving the challenges related to knowledge and production gaps would entail farmers adopting modern and data driven farming techniques, optimizing input usage, and increasing yield predictability, and thus earning more profit. It could mean farming practices adapted to local weather patterns, water availability, and soil conditions, and also continuous and contextualized learning systems enabling the farmers to adopt proven modern techniques. So that's on agriculture. We'll quickly move on to skilling. And coming to skilling, the broad overarching problem we are looking to address is How might we leverage open source AI to revolutionize skill development for India's youth, bridging the critical gap between current capabilities and rapidly evolving industry demands, while ensuring inclusive access across socio-economic barriers? The subdomains here are industry relevance, access and inclusion, and engagement and effectiveness. Coming to industry relevance, currently, when we look at the skilling ecosystem, there is a disconnection between the training content and actual job market's demand. Hence, there is a need to bridge this. And this also means that there are limited mechanisms to quickly adapt to the to emerging skill needs. For example, AI proficiency is a must-have skill in the current job market, and there is adoption of skilling curriculum to teach. There's little adoption of skilling curriculum that is being taught in the skilling courses. This stems from the fact that it is difficult to maintain up-to-date learning materials, since once learning materials are developed in any skilling center or any platform, there's a long process before it's get approved and scrutinized, and hence it becomes difficult to update it at speed. And we also have to see we also see a lot of theory and inadequate focus on practical or hands-on skill development. What would effective solutions do here? Solutions could design processes and structures for auto-updating curriculum based on current market demands and emerging opportunities. The solutions could design incorporation of learning experiences that emphasize hands-on application along with theory. Solutions could look at industry-validated credentials where employers endorse skill certifications rather than just degrees from colleges. Now, coming to access and inclusion barriers, there is a tremendous digital divide and high cost for devices, resources that exclude majority of the rural youth from online learning and opportunities. Additionally, language barriers inhibit accessibility of advanced training content, which is mostly in English across the board. Also, rural youth face infrastructural constraints like transportation, lack of nearby skilling centers, quality skilling centers, etc., and geographical limitations, which affects their consistent participation. Now, what would effective solutions do here? AI-based interventions can design solutions that provide training materials available in multiple regional Indian languages with natural context-aware translations that maintain technical accuracy. Solutions could design systems that function effectively on basic smartphones with offline capabilities and minimal data consumption. Design hybrid models combining digital content with local physical spaces for peer learning and mentorship, which will encourage the youth towards self-study and also support each other. Coming to the subdomain of engagement and effectiveness, the skill training currently follows a one-size-fits-all approach where the diverse learning needs and backgrounds are ignored. This leads to low completion rates due to lack of personalization of training content. And also, there is limited real-time feedback on practical skill development, and assessment is done mostly on theoretical aspects. This stems from the fact that skill trainings find it difficult to track and measure actual skill acquisition. Let's look at what would effective solutions solve for. The content and interfaces would be adapted for different literacy levels, learning disabilities, and cultural contexts rather than follow a one-size-fits-all approach. The solutions could provide support for real-time assessment for practical skill application with specific improvement and feedback guidance. Most importantly, the solutions could help the mentors and students to track competency against current industry benchmarks and enable them to stay competitive. Give me a second. So moving on to the next one, that is education. So the overarching problem statement under education is how might we leverage open source AI to transform teaching effectiveness in India's low income and government schools, where teachers face systemic challenges in delivering quality education to a large, diverse classroom with limited resources. So as we go through these problem statements, imagine a highly motivated teacher who wants to do the best for students and want the best for the students, and who is teaching more than 60 students crammed into one classroom in a low resource school. And as you're thinking about it, let's dive into the problem statements for the first subdomain under education, that is classroom management and personalization. The classes are oversized, often more than 60 students, and this makes individual attention to students nearly impossible. This leads to challenges in real-time learning, gap identification, which is crucial in ensuring that the children are progressing. Students from multiple geographies and multiple languages and varied learning levels in classroom make adaptation of innovative teaching strategies really challenging. What would effective solutions solve for? Enable teachers to deliver differentiated instruction based on real-time assessment of individual student progress. Provide support and structures for translation and adaptation of teaching materials across regional languages. The solutions could support the teachers with early detection of learning gaps, with specific intervention recommendation for various group of students. Now, coming to this next subdomain, which is resources and infrastructure. There is a dearth of readily available resources and accessible quality teaching materials and aids. Teachers have to spend a lot of time creating their own materials customized to their context. Now, taking into account digital divide, especially in rural areas and um, low resource schools, both in rural and urban context, this affects the teachers and students in accessing updated and creative learning resources. The limited availability of creative content and teaching aids in regional languages is also a major challenge. Solutions could solve these by creating designs that make teaching aids accessible on basic devices with minimal connectivity requirements and offline functionality. Provide support to transform original resources into engaging learning materials tailored to various learning levels. For example, a lesson in a textbook is common to all the students in the classroom, but AI-based solutions could help the teacher design unique assessments and teaching materials that cater to varied learning levels in the classroom. Solutions could be designed to promote collaborative systems like mentorship connect, peer learnings, etc., that maximize the educational impact of the limited physical and digital resource across schools. Now, coming to the next subdomain, which is professional support. Challenges under this include traditional teacher training programs that are based on theory and lack practical implementation support and also lack contextualization. Teachers face isolation from professional learning communities and mentorship. Teachers spend a lot of time on excessive administrative tasks that act as burden and reducing teaching time. Teachers also encounter complex classroom situations on a daily basis and feel ill-equipped to handle these complex situations. So the successful AI solutions would solve for these problems by supporting continuous and contextual professional development with access to real-time guidance for challenging classroom situations, reduction of administrative workload through streamlined processes of documentation, assessment, and reporting, and connected communities of practice enabling peer learning and resource sharing across geographies. So take us through the next aspect of healthcare. I hand it over to Ayushi from the Natch.
Right. Thank you, Bharat. Hi, everybody. We are very excited to have you all here. I'm Ayushi, and I've been working as a consultant with the Nudge. I will take you through the healthcare problem statements. Within healthcare, we are targeting we're targeting three broad areas, and we want you to think around the lines of how might we leverage AI to revolutionize healthcare delivery, bridging critical gaps in accessibility, affordability, and quality while ensuring inclusive care across diverse geography and socioeconomic barriers. The three areas that we are currently targeting are maternal and child health. One of the key reasons of targeting maternal and child health is that there is a lot of population within rural areas who is still not able to access the correct information to understand what can be prevented while they are expecting or when they are expecting children. So imagine an expecting mother in rural India who does not realize that she is experiencing high risk pregnancy or going through nutrition deficiency until complications arise, simply because the local healthcare worker did not have easy tools to diagnose and provide timely insights. It can put both mother and children at risk. And additionally, a third of India's children under 5 are underweight, and 60% of them suffer from anemia due to lack of nutrition. However, simple solutions empowering frontline health workers like ASHA workers and ANMs can help solve these issues. We want you to think along the lines of how AI driven tools can help in early detection of high risk pregnancies, personalized nutrition advising locally available food. For example, if I'm in Jharkhand or if I'm in Rajasthan, then what are different kinds of food that I can use to cater to these issues, and better data management practices that can prevent million of such cases. We need you to put yourself in the shoes of frontline workers and figure out these easy, intuitive solutions that can help them in creating awareness, detect these challenges early on, and provide localized nutritional advice during and post pregnancy. The second problem statement is on accessibility to government healthcare schemes. Now, understanding the challenges faced by people in lower income brackets, Indian government has provided multiple healthcare schemes to ensure that people can access facilities within their reach. However, due to literacy, language, and lack of awareness, many people do not know that these schemes exist. Only 14% have enrolled within them. And even if they're aware of the schemes, the processes are so overwhelming that they do not or cannot enroll by themselves. Now, considering most of the population in need of these schemes fall under similar income bracket as wage workers or migrant workers, they do not even have the exposure to self increase their awareness and understand the eligibility criteria. So, we need you to design easy solutions that help them understand which schemes are applicable, what documents would be required, and how they can enroll. Within this problem statement, you need to be careful about the fact that central government schemes are applicable throughout the country, but state government schemes may or may not be applicable. Thus, in a case of a migrant worker, a person may be resident of one state, but may be living in another state and may be requiring the healthcare scheme of the state they are living in. So, your solution needs to cater to the geography of where they're living and then provide options of how they can access or which schemes can help them in enabling uh, the healthcare facilities. For the last problem statement, we want you to come up with a solution which can augment a doctor's capability. Most of the doctors in rural areas, they struggle daily with limited resources, inadequate connectivity for real-time consultation or guidelines, poor access to real-time guidelines, and inefficient history management. These limitations significantly impact patient care quality and their ability to serve more people. We want you to design solutions in perspective of the doctors to ease their workload, and something which can help in cutting down on operational requirements, and offline it can be offline medical guidance systems, AI assistant patient data organization tools, telehealth innovations that can function in low connectivity environments. It helps in increasing the doctor's bandwidth to serve more and more patients. This is with respect to healthcare, and with that I would give it back to Shakti. Thank you.
Hi, sorry. Uh, so let's get it going and continue. Let's continue now that we have an understanding of the challenges areas. Let's go over the hackathon flow, application process, and key timelines. Right. If you still haven't registered, now is the time. I'll also walk you through the hackathon website to give you a demo of the application process. So allow me to share my screen quickly. So if you're able to see my screen, so that's the Hackathon website. If you have not already visited it, please do go ahead, search for Pragati AI for Impact. Or either ways, you can go to hackerskill.com and find this hackathon listing out there. So if you just go through his website, this will give you the whole understanding of what is the vision behind it, and what is this hackathon about, right? What are what is the prize pool that you're competing for? What is the team size? Where is the hackathon going to conduct? All of that, everything is listed, all information. What is the eligibility criteria in order to participate in this hackathon is one of the key aspects. So please make sure that you look at everything before you register. Key challenges. This challenge category has already been discussed broadly by Gerald, Bharat, and Ayushi all together collectively. Now you can also read more about each of these challenges. You can just click here on View More. You'll be able to read more about everything that Bharat and Ayushi has walked us through. So you can also look at the essential consideration for the solution development, which Gerald threw light upon. All of these challenges have similar listings, so you can go through them and choose the one that you want to solve for social good. So why do you want to participate? Key highlights. Every one of us actually have highlighted those, right? Timelines, which is mostly important. So now that we stand on the introductory session here on, let's just say today. So coming up stages are registration ends, idea submissions, the announcements of top 10 teams, prototype development, induction session, prototype development ends. Everything that you want to know about, the timeline will give you insights on, right? And yes, of course. So what's there for everybody to grab out of this hackathon? So there's a huge prize pool of 7 lakh rupees. So make sure you register yourself, not just individually, but tag along your colleagues, tag along your friends, and bring them onto this hackathon. Collectively, you bring in a great team together, put in your efforts, bring in your ideas, put your tech stack together, and build a solution that makes a larger impact out there. So in order to register, you simply have to go to this button that you see on my screen. If you click on this button, you'll be landed onto a registration form like this. So you just have to fill out the details. So these are basic details about you so that we can accommodate you and communicate with you on a regular basis. And we can also check through thoroughly that what are you eligible for the hackathon or not. Please make sure you register with the right information of yours so that we can effectively communicate with you. So once you register yourself, you'll get access to your private dashboard. So on my screen, if you're able to see, that's a dashboard for me. So being a participant, I just giving you all a demo all right here. So you'll be able to access your team management, submissions, right? All of these are enabled for you on a participant standpoint. So individually, each team member of yours will have this access. So under team management, you can actually start creating a team, right? So build your dream team out here. If you want to assemble everyone out there in your close circle, your colleagues out there, you want to build a team with them, start creating a team, right? So, and in case you're somebody who's a little introvert, or maybe don't want to participate or want to build something on their own, so that's when you can also explore, look for open or public teams. So you can just go to public teams, you'll find teams already built there, and people are looking for more members to join in their teams as well. So if I just take you back and create your own new teams as well. So you can give it out a new name, a description, maybe upload a great logo for yourself, and then yeah, that's it. And then start inviting your folks out there. Right. Once you create a team, it'll give you options to invite your friends through copying the URL, or maybe you can send out an email, anything that you like to do. Right. That's how you'll start creating emails. Once you invite people, the listing will start appearing here. Request sent, invitation accepted, every status you can check out there. What else apart from the team formation? The next step for you would be to brainstorm with the team members and come up with a great idea, right, across any of those problem statements that we just discussed about. So under submissions, if you go and the ongoing criteria itself, you can see idea submission template. That's a template for you which you can download, which will give you glance on what all things are we expecting from you, right? If you just go and switch to the next slide, so you get those glimpses out there. So what you can do is you can simply click here to download that, keep it offline with you, and start filling in details. While you also do that, you can also look at the essential consideration for the hackathon submissions, right? These are most important things for you to actually look at before you make a submission. Once you've gone through both the template as well as this guidelines out there, you can start making a submission for yourself. Select a challenge, right? Here's where you select a challenge for yourself. Brief description of your ideas. Once you register, this is a demo account. Once you register, you'll find a listing of 4 challenges right here. Brief description of your idea. What motivates you to participate? Is there a hackathon for your first time? Technology stack, and upload your presentation right here. So once you're done with it, click on submit, and that would be all. So one information that I like to pass upon is you can start building and creating your ideas right now at this given point of time for people who have already registered, right? You can send across or push multiple iterations of it until unless we hit the deadline of submissions. You can keep pushing your updated deck here, so that it is with us in case you forget to do it, right? So once you're done with that, that would be all for the first stage of the hackathon, right? First phase of the hackathon from your side would be completed. Then it would completely be on us. How do we take forward, evaluate your ideas with the mentors from the Nudge, Meta, Hack to Scale, and then come up saying that you've been shortlisted and take you forward for the next round of the hackathon itself. So that would be all in terms of for you to begin the journey with Pragati AI for Impact. So I believe this information is valuable to you for people who are actually not registered yet. I'd also like to request the team to, let all the speakers be on the screen with me so that we can get started with the Q&A round. We're just short of time here. Okay, so I can see a lot of questions already floating across in the chat box. I'll just pick a few and maybe some of you can answer that. Okay, so here's an open general question. Maybe this can be addressed by Bharat or maybe Gerald, anybody from the Nudge. So, what are the post hackathon opportunities beyond? This is a question beyond the prize money, right? So this might be coming from a professional or a start or somebody coming from a startup background. So, any highlights on here?
So let me go for this. So good question. I think the hack in many ways, and this whole Pragati for AI, Impact Hackathon, and everything else that we're doing is in many ways just the start of the journey, right? Do I have specific answers at this point of time? No, we need to understand, and and as we start to see the nature of problems, solutions rather, that keep coming up. See, the needs are as we explained, right? The needs are many, right? And I'm sure that if they are meaningful, solutions, right, and solutions that are adaptable into solving the problems within the constraints that have been defined, I think that there are opportunities. We'll come back with that, and maybe in a later post we can share how these connections can happen. But yeah, I mean, as Mohit has put up there, networking. We can help help take these solutions to a wider audience to find pick up, etc. And look at anything, look at other opportunities as well, because if there are good solutions, we wouldn't want them to sort of fall flat at the end of the hack.
Great. Thank you so much, Gerald, for answering that. Another follow-up to that question, it's not just a follow-up, but maybe we can pick this up real quick. This is coming from someone from a startup background again. How can startups and developers leverage open source AI for real-world applications out there? So maybe you can throw out some highlights on what is the purpose of using open source AI. Why open source AI is the theme for this hackathon?
So I think let me answer it a bit, and then maybe Bharat, you can also jump in here. Open source, because as I said, and as Divya also said, and I think even Gayatri started it off, is that it's sort of it's more contextual, it's more democratized, it's hyper local to the types of solutions that need to be that need to solve for very hyper local problems. right? And therefore, from that point of view, it's more inclusive in itself, right? And the whole purpose of Meta's commitment to open source, and rightly so. And in fact, even if you read in the news, this whole AI mission that's been there and that's been spoken about, and all the articles that have been coming, probably in reaction to, let's say, the DeepSeek, etc., are all talking about models that are open source that everybody can tap into, because we are building for Bharat. We're not building for India in some ways, right? And so it has to be Atmanirbhar, even for from a sort of access from a technology point of view and an AI point of view, right? And that's the only way. I think open source really is probably the best pathway for that. I don't know if that completely answers it, but yeah, I mean, this is the direction. Anybody, Gayatri, Bharat, anybody to add?
No, I think I'm just adding that all these solutions are towards the most poor, marginalized communities, and hence affordability of those solutions also become crucial, and hence open source becomes a way in which people can go and tweak and leverage. People can build over it and keep going. So I think it's not one solution, right? There should be a stackability of solutions so that it can be applicable to them, and hence our bias towards open source.
Yeah, I agree with both Gerald and Gayatri. Just one aspect also, just to add, is to build on what Gerald and Gayatri mentioned, is when we talk about democratization of AI, it becomes really important to ensure that it scales beyond the urban areas or beyond the people who can really afford it. It has to go to the rural areas or the people who really are need this AI based solutions as well, and that is kind of possible only. Scalability is only possible through open source AI solutions and not proprietary solutions.
Great. Thank you, everyone, for answering to that question. What I'll do is I'll just pull up a few more questions right here. We'll wrap on time. So this is a quick question. Will data sets be provided, or do participants need to source their own? So I'd like to just throw a few. My perspective to this is, while we say open source AI, this is already understood that we are also looking for open source data that you use and utilize that to build your own models out there, train your own models, and print out, get out a solution out of it. If anybody else has a point to add to it, maybe please go ahead.
Yeah, nothing for me at the moment. I mean, yeah, I think that's one of the challenges that was also there in the criteria, right? That data and data sets and India specific data sets are and community micro community sort of data sets are missing in Soria. I mean, it'll be difficult. And this is where we want your thinking to come in and sort of see how how in these constraint areas, I mean, we can build better.
Okay, I guess there's a question from some founder out here. Uh, so I'll just read it out for you guys. Is I come from a startup background. What are the benefits for me as a founder to participate in Social Good Hackathon?
Yeah, I think I'm just going to take this because I think one of the biggest benefit is that we are not part of problem but part of solution. I think this is a need, right? Like all of us have to contribute, and you have the technical prowess, and that is why this hackathon is there, to ensure that there is a meaningfulness that you can bring in. But as we say that there will be mentors, there will be other NGOs that you can interact with, there are other meanings where you can kind of come. So it becomes a good space for you to experiment plus network with people. But that said, most importantly, create meaningful contribution, because we are looking for startup founders and thinkers like yourself to come and solve for the toughest challenges. And yeah, anything else?
I guess that would be all. Yeah. So we'll just have one quick question to be addressed. Maybe we'll just quickly pull that up and then we'll close it up. So I, being a working professionals, without can we participate solo is the core question out of this, regardless of being from professional background or maybe a startup background or a student. So is there a liability that people can actually propose an idea on their own?
I think this you did answer yourself, Shakti, right? I mean, we'd love to. I mean, so we wouldn't want to exclude anybody because this whole concept is about inclusion. I mean, but at the same time, from I guess from a management and from an operational perspective, I guess that's a call maybe that the Hack to Skills team can have a discussion with some of us and see whether whether we can be liberal. At the moment, it is teams, right? And I think you also pointed to the opportunity for individuals who are looking to sort of register and participate to kind of get co-opted into teams or sort of team up with other teams. But I mean, like I said, if there's some great idea out there and somebody is willing to contribute, we'll have to think about it. I mean, more from an operational point of view. But yeah, I mean, we'd love to have everybody, or as many as possible.
For sure. So, mostly common questions out there now, but thank you so much, everyone. And thank you so much, everyone, for putting up your questions right there. And thank you so much to the panel of speakers who've joined us today and walking us through this introductory session and giving more insights on Pragati AI for Impact Hackathon. So people watching us for the first time, there's a request. Just go to hacktoskill.com, explore about the hackathon more. You'll get to learn more about this hackathon. You have already heard from every stakeholder of this hackathon that what is it about and what is the core vision behind it. So go to hacktoskill.com, go to Pragati AI for Impact, look through the website, register yourself today. So the deadline for the registration states 6th of April itself. So make sure you register yourself before that. But thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Special thanks to all the speakers who have joined us today right here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shakti.
Thanks.
Thank you, everybody. Okay.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you.